Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to the webinar. I will just get everything kicked off. So, hi, guys. I am Emma Borkoff, Head of Marketing here at 8Fig. Thanks for joining us for the webinar, How to Navigate Peak Selling Seasons Like a Pro with Dave Lang and Ryan Sherrard of DAVAN Strategic. Before we get started, I just want to give you a little bit of background about 8Fig. We're a funding and planning platform that provides continuous capital to e-commerce sellers. You get the funds that you need when you need them according to your plan, all optimized for improved cash flow. What's also great is that you can change your plan as you go, sell more, sell less, or our funds are flexible and align with what you need. And now onto the speakers. So Dave and Ryan are two Canadians currently living in Munich, Germany, and have been Amazon sellers since 2020. Dave is an airline pilot and flies the Airbus A350, if you know what that is, around the world, while Ryan has a background in molecular biology, working on cutting-edge RNA technology. Despite having no previous experience in e-commerce, Dave and Ryan were able to scale their business to 7 figures in less than 2 years. Dave and Ryan recently sold their business for several $1,000,000 and now aim to help others scale their own businesses. Together, they co-founded DAVAN Strategic and offer coaching and strategic planning for other sellers. They also host the DAVAN Exchange, a free regular meetup for members of their Facebook group. And lastly, just a few housekeeping items. If you have questions during our event, please feel free to send them in the general chat or in the Q&A box. At the end of the session, we're going to have a dedicated Q&A time for Ryan and Dave. So please, if you have questions throughout, please just enter them. We will definitely get to them. We want this to be very kind of open forum. We just have an initial presentation section to kick it off with. And all right, before I chuck it over to them, we actually have a poll for you guys that we're going to launch. The first question is, how many years have you been selling? Then what is your annual revenue as well? Oh, wait, I think we do it one at a time, right? Let's do the, how many years have you been selling? Can we queue up that poll? Hold on. I think. Did that launch for everyone? I'm not sure. No. All right. Well, we can just get started then. Oops. Just bear with us. Nope. All right, well, we can just kick off the presentation, always launch the poll later, if that works. So Ryan, do you want to share your screen again? 2 years of the pandemic and we're still just getting the hang of things. All right, so I'll just kick off the conversation with one of our biggest questions and why we're mostly here today is, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you guys have made or that you've seen sellers make during Q4?
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Before we get to that question, I just want to say how excited we are to be here. So Ryan and I, it's funny, we just exited a month ago and we said, okay, we're going to take time off. And we didn't even take time off. I think we were, took a 2-3 week break and we're right back at it, working with the aggregators that bought us and also working with other sellers, trying to optimize your Q4 strategy and stuff, because it's such a hot selling time right now that it's so hard for Ryan and I to just sit back and watch. We want to get right back in it. We want to get right back in the trenches. And
feels like getting right back in the trenches, doesn't it? Yeah. Again, thanks Emma for that great introduction too. Yeah, I'm like you mentioned, I have a background in science, but I love this stuff because it's, at the end of the day, it's just a lot of data analysis and data driven decisions. So coming up into Q4 when that's really, really important, I'm really excited.
Yeah, so hopefully some of the stuff that we share here today, is going to help you guys, everyone listening, with just the way that Ryan and I think. So we just wanted to present some of our ideas, some things that we've seen, some of our friends, and we're in different masterminds as well with other 7-8 figure sellers. And, this is basically a little summary. So to answer your first question, Emma, like some of those things of like, what do we see, sellers do, or what mistakes did we make maybe last year or the year before that we would do differently? Let's get right to it.
We'll jump right in. I think I had fun making this slide. You can tell. They don't all have a Christmas theme, just this first slide, but this is, I think, a great place to start, because one of the easiest things you can do heading into Q4 is just straight up revisit your listing optimization. The first point we have is like, do Christmasify your listing, your Amazon store, your Amazon posts, all the creative that you have out there, anything you have that's in front of the shopper's eyes. Like, it can be as simple as making the text in your images red and green, like I've done here, or it can be a little bit more intensive. There's lots of sites out there that offer free stock photos. You don't have to purchase a Shutterstock license to have access to these. You can visit these sites here, like Unsplash and Pexels are two of my favorites. We use Canva as well. And I know Canva is becoming more and more popular amongst people to actually create their listing photos. So why not take an existing listing photo that you have and add a Christmas tree or add a red and green border around it? Anything that shows the customer like, hey, look, we're a Christmas product too. You're buying for the rest of your family. Why not buy us as a gift as well? So think about at least take one of your photos and Christmasify it, as we say.
And it's a good point, even for the people that don't sell Christmas products, right? So if you think about retail, I always like to compare things to retail because they're setting a good example. If you sell shaving cream and a razor, for example, just having an image saying, this razor is trusted by Santa or used by Santa, you can make any product a holiday product. Retail does it too. At least decorate your storefront.
Yeah. It's the perfect stocking stuffer. It's sometimes overused. Everyone claims they're the perfect stocking stuffer, but if you don't, then you're kind of missing out, I guess. And that's another thing to do with the listing is, and this is something Dave and I do frequently because, every quarter of the year comes with its own holiday. You have Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, but obviously heading into Q4, it's all about Christmas. And it's a perfect time to do a fresh keyword research, do a deep dive. What are the keywords? What are the search terms that are big heading into this year's Q4? Because they're not necessarily going to be the same keywords that were big last Q4. So if you've optimized your listing and said, I used it last Christmas, I'm just going to use it this Christmas again, just take another deep dive into some keyword research, because the phrasing might change, the words. So what Dave and I really like to do is on our listing, we have our 5 bullet points on our Amazon listing, and we reserve one of those bullet points as a holiday specific bullet point. And, once a quarter we'll sub in, instead of Valentine's Day, we'll say Mother's Day or Father's Day or Halloween, or in this case, Christmas. So it's a great place to just reserve a bullet point and add in that holiday keyword and start getting indexed for it. So you can at least have a chance to rank on keywords you're eventually going to be pushing on PPC for this Christmas. And the final thing that we love to do that I don't see utilized in a lot of listings, to be honest, is adding a cross-selling photo that highlights your entire product catalog. People, especially at Christmas, sometimes don't know what to get their family, and they're just looking for an answer to be put right in front of them. So why not show your entire catalog to them, as one of your photos? So I have an example over here in the corner. If you sell ugly Christmas sweaters, but you also sell hats, socks, pants. I love these ugly Christmas cat pants, by the way, and or vests. Why not showcase that in a photo directly on your listing? And look, even up at the top, you can say, visit our store for more holiday gifts, and directly point them to that link that's right below your title that says, visit our brand store, and just make it easy for them to find you. Because once they get on your storefront, there's no competitors, so you're not having to worry about people, stealing sales from you. You get to showcase a nice, beautiful storefront, and you can even add holiday theme to your storefront as well using this holiday media that I pointed out before. So just in general, relook at your listing and do it through like a pair of red and green goggles, I like to say.
Yeah, awesome. Let's get right to the next point. And this is, inventory management. This is such a big topic. We love this topic because Amazon keeps throwing curveballs. So mistakes for Q4, one thing that this was a mistake we did last year. We got a bit nervous. And when people talk about Q4, like, I mean, Q4 mathematically is October 1st till the end of the year, right? That's Q4. But in reality, what everyone is talking about when they're like Q4 sales pick up, they mean, you know, the last 6 weeks of the year pick up. So Ryan and I noticed like mid-November is when Q4 sales really start, but we sent it in October 1st. Well, if you take a look at the chart at the bottom left, the inventory fees on Amazon are between 2 and 3 times as high as throughout the rest of the year. And by sending in your inventory too early, man, you're paying that heavy inventory fees for nothing, because sales most likely aren't going to pick up until mid-November. So that was a mistake we did last year, and it cost us quite a lot of money. Plus, it doesn't help your IPI score and your sell-through rate and all that stuff, especially since sales don't pick up. You don't want to send it in too late either, though. So it's a very tricky balance, right? So normally throughout the year, Ryan and I notice if we send stuff to Amazon, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for it to check in and get dispersed across the country. Well, at Christmas time, it might actually be double that. It might be around 4 weeks. So right now we're working with our aggregator as well. And we're saying, okay, look, what's our strategy? How many units do we send in now for Q4? And we're placing those, you know, we're shipping it in now. So we're beginning of November, and we're saying now we got to get the stuff into Amazon to be ready for that peak sales season. The next point is, do check your inventory placement. Guys, this cost us $50,000 last year, and it blew our mind. We didn't know about this. We never heard anyone talk about this. Amazon has something called a supplemental fulfillment center. So everyone knows they have fulfillment centers. They ship the products, you know, to the customer. Those are called general fulfillment centers. And what happens is Amazon, they forecast how many units do they think you're going to be able to sell in a certain time period. We're going to show you a slide later about that. What happens is Amazon sucks at forecasting. So if Amazon doesn't think you're going to be able to sell those 10,000 units that you just sent them for Christmas or for any peak, they're going to sideline them at a supplemental fulfillment center. And only once the general fulfillment centers are sent out will they transfer them. It takes about 3-4 days, and then they'd be available for the customer. However, they don't tell you that. And on our seller's point of view, it says the units are available. But the problem is, and the shipping times are like 7 days. So it'll be FBA, and it'll say usually ships within 7 days. And you're like, I thought FBA ships today. So the topic is too big to go into in this webinar. Ryan and I, when it happened to us, like when we found out, it blew our minds. So we actually created a YouTube video for it. So watch the YouTube video. This way we don't have
more of a rant, I think. Eh?
It was a rant. It's crazy because it cost us $50,000. It was so annoying. Okay, so if you send in a lot of units for Q4, because you do have a seasonal product, let's say, and Amazon doesn't think you can sell it, they might sideline it. If that is you, check out our YouTube video, and then make sure you open a case before that happens to you. It might save you $50,000. Okay. And last thing, a lot of people, you know, you get excited about Q4. That's when we can make all our money as e-commerce sellers, but you kind of forget about Q1, right? And you're right in the, and you're just selling and your head down, and, you know, then you get through Christmas, and then it's like, oh no, it's January and you have to place another order. It's Chinese New Year's right after. So now's the time to start thinking about Q1 as well. Okay, so really forecast, say, how much do I think I'm going to sell, and maybe place your order for Q1 already, if you haven't already done so.
Yeah. And good, just to add on to your point, Dave, like if you're going to sell out a lot of units at FBA during Christmas, don't forget to send in those restocks so you're actually stocked at FBA. You know, a lot of your competitors might go out of stock, you know, December 17th, 18th, 19th during these days. Imagine if you're the only one who's in stock onwards, and even in that weird time between Christmas and January, you know, so definitely think about restocking not only your entire catalog from your supplier, but also keeping FBA well stocked after that big peak day.
That's a really good point.
Oh, the next one, PPC. We always say PPC is a beast, and it absolutely is. And holiday PPC is no different. So one of the things that we've been very careful to do when it comes to PPC during a holiday, whether it's Christmas or any other holiday in the year, is not to start the holiday PPC too early. You know, you can get, you know, pull the trigger too early. And just when people are only window shopping, you know, it's November 2nd today or November 3rd, but people are maybe not purchasing already, but they're definitely looking, they're doing research. So why pay for people to click on your product just if they're not even going to convert right now? So if that's going to drive down your conversion rate, that could hurt your organic ranking even before the holiday shopping begins. So just be careful about starting and hitting the start button on your holiday PPC too early. The time that we like to do it, and this is just us for our product, it might differ, but around mid-November is really when we like to start pushing holiday PPC, but we monitor it every day to see when is that conversion rate turning a corner so we can really start to crank it. The next thing, similar to listing optimization that I talked about, is using creative elements in your brand, in your sponsored brands. And I think now your sponsored display too. I believe this is a new feature rolled out in some sponsored display ads, where you can create a creative element that has a nice holiday photo that gets shown, often in these banner ads at the top of the search results page. So take advantage of those. Again, hit the Christmas spirit when you create these photos. Keep in mind, when you're creating holiday PPC for sponsored brands and display, you have to often set an end date as well. So don't forget, when creating, you have to set an end date usually as like the day of the holiday or within 24 hours of the end of it. So just keep that in mind. The next thing is this is a big one, and it's don't let a profitable campaign run out of budget. And this is, to be honest, one of the reasons that Dave and I have had a few successful peaks under our belt, is because we get in and we really micromanage PPC like no one's business. And I think throughout the year, micromanaging PPC is not a good strategy to have in general. You often have to wait for the attribution window to close so that you can really determine your ACoS and your true conversion rate. But you know what? During a holiday, there's just no time to do that. The holiday, it's such a short window. You can't wait 7 days or 14 days to figure if that campaign is converting. You have to make decisions on the fly now. So if you're in PPC on the day and you see a campaign that's doing great and it has a budget of, $20 or $30, don't be afraid to raise it in the moment, because, you need to take advantage of these sales while you're in the heat of the peak sales. And to that point, do consider increasing your prices when these high converting days come. People get less and less price sensitive as you get closer to the actual holiday. Now people might be shopping, but just window shopping and thinking about what they're going to buy. But when it comes to December 17th, December 16th, this mid-December, people are just like, just give me anything. Give me a gift. They become less price sensitive. They just need something to arrive in time for Christmas. So if, especially with fees on Amazon going up, with fulfillment fees and the fuel surcharge and the higher storage fees during Q4, as Dave mentioned, where can you eke out a little bit more profit? And it's often just increasing your price by $1 or $2 to get that little bit higher margins during the peak season. And finally, this is, I think, one of the most actionable things we're going to mention when it comes to PPC, is to monitor your shipping times during the holiday and adjust your PPC accordingly. So you might notice on your listing, at some point in the next month, you're going to get this little green badge that tells the customer, oh, if you order this now, the product's going to arrive before Christmas. Great. Everything's good. PPC will convert. People who get to your listing are going to buy it, knowing that it's going to be under the Christmas tree in time. But the day will come when you get this second banner and it's going to say may arrive after Christmas. This is going to start to put doubt in the customer's mind as to whether they're able to even give it to their loved one. So you're going to start to see conversion rates turn, and they're going to start to drop when this banner appears on your listing. So just keep that in mind, that you don't want to be pushing that PPC so hard if you're just driving people to your listing that has a bad shipping time attached to it. And finally, when you get this banner that says arrives after Christmas, that's when Dave and I essentially, say, okay, the holiday is over. We pour an eggnog and we call it a success. That's when it's over for us, because no one's going to buy a Christmas present that is going to arrive on December 27th, or fewer people will. So we always take this into consideration when we're doing our PPC. We'll start to bring those really high budgets that we said, we'll start to bring those back down to normal levels as the PPC conversion drops because of the shipping times.
Yeah, so a concrete strategy that we do there is that we actually don't touch the top of search placement or the bid or anything. We want to get the same quality bid, but we don't want to have the budget at $500-$600 a day. We're going to, like Ryan said, we're going to work with budgets. So we don't want to touch anything else. And it's actually so much easier to do it that way, right? At the end, you see the badge comes up, you lower the budget. And then you keep lowering it, run off organically. Hopefully at that point you have ranking. So that brings us to the next point. Anything we do, Ryan and I, when we're selling, is that we have to align our PPC strategy with the organic ranking and the available inventory. And we notice some people, they don't do that. And it depends on the size of their business. They might have different VAs taking care of just doing the inventory, or they outsource the PPC, which is great. And if you do outsource the PPC, guys, make sure you give a long enough leash, right, to your PPC manager to say, look, those budgets, they got to go up. You have full control, make it go up, and just, give them enough playroom for Q4. So aligning the PPC strategy, like I said, with organic ranking, there's one other caveat here, right? So the reason why Q4 sales go up is not only because there's more search volume on the established keywords that you're used to all year, but there might be new keywords that are introduced. So for example, you sell a yoga mat and you have a yoga mat for instructors. There might be a new set of keywords that come in that were in there all year round, which might be like gifts for yoga instructor, right? That's a brand new keyword that came in, and that'll bring search volume with it. So what's important is now I need a strategy for that keyword. Ryan already said we're going to optimize our listing. We're going to make sure, gifts for yoga instructor is in my listing. Now I can be indexed for it. Now I'm going to slowly start running PPC so I can start ranking for it. And I really have to monitor that organic ranking. So that's very important. And we're going to talk about that very little bit on the next slide. But I got to track that data, because if my ranking is increasing, then you know what, forget ACOS. I'm going to keep pushing PPC on that. I want to make sure I get enough ranking high enough so I can get organic sales on it, because then it's worth it, because I'm getting organic sales. If the ranking doesn't go high enough for me to get organic sales, I still want to drive sales off that keyword. So then that strategy has to be at least a break-even one or better. So I don't want to lose money running PPC on that keyword. I know I'm not getting organic sales from it. They're purely PPC sales, which I want because I want to drive more units, right? That helps my overall store and overall ranking. But at best, it has to be break-even, or at worst, right? Let's make money. Okay. And then we track it with available inventory. So at the end of the day, Q4, forget revenue, guys. Okay, that's everyone's just flexing. Everyone cares about revenue. Forget it. What you want to care about is profit, right? So if your strategy, you have so many units in at Amazon right now, it's like unlimited, and you can sell 1 million units a day for like $1 profit each. Man, that's $1 million profit a day, right? But if you only have 1 unit in, right, but you have such big margins, you can also make $1 million. Okay, so just don't worry about revenue, don't worry about number of units, just focus on profit at the end of the day. So those are some of those mistakes there, Emma.
I actually just got a great question from the audience. So would you launch a new product during Q4? And if yes, would you have a different strategy?
That's a good question. And
we actually
depends.
So I think every answer we're going to give in this webinar is it depends, right? Because that's the only true answer that we can give. But then we'll give a couple examples. One, if your product is a product that differentiates so much that it doesn't really require reviews, right? Then I would say, yeah, go for it. You don't need reviews, but people like your product so much because it's so different than that one that they're going to buy it because they want that look, that feel, that feature, then it's worth it. If you're selling a cell phone and you're competing against iPhone or Google, and people care about reviews because, hey, it's an iPhone, or a skin product where reviews might be really important, launching in Q4 might be hard because cost per clicks go up on PPC. Yeah, there's more search volume, but you don't have the social proof to back it up. So that's why it depends. If you need social proof, then I would say don't. If you don't need social proof, then definitely launch. You're going to benefit from the increased traffic, the readiness to buy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to inventory planning too, it's a double-edged sword. And Dave and I have, we've launched products during Q4. I think mid-October, we launched some products last year, and we've launched outside of Q4 as well. And when you launch during Q4 and you suddenly get you're riding this wave of sales, it's hard to determine your baseline sales. So Dave and I, we like to use the term baseline sales a lot. What is your baseline sales? What do you sell? How many units would you sell in a regular day? For Dave and I, this is a really important number to know because it allows us to plan our inventory well in advance. We can calculate our monthly sales, our yearly sales, if we just know our baseline. When you're launching in Q4 and you're just riding that wave, yeah, you might sell out, you might have a great season, but how many do you order? What order you might think this is the best product and place a huge purchase order without even knowing what your real baseline was. So that's just a caveat to be careful. If you launch outside of peak, you get to know your baseline right away. That allows you to plan a little bit more ahead, have those numbers a little bit more dialed in.
Yeah, really good point.
So speaking of numbers, what kind of data should sellers be looking at in order to inform their Q4 strategy?
Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll just talk on these really quickly, give a quick overview of some of the metrics that we look at. So we essentially split it up into three things, right? We talk about profitability, PPC, and inventory. Okay. And we're really just going to fly through these. So for profitability, we're just looking at tacos, right? Our total advertising costs. We know our profit margins. So if I know I have a profit margin of 30% on my product and I have tacos of 15%, right? Then my net profit margin is the difference, which is then another 15% for us. So we just look at tacos. Ryan and I, and during Q4, we have a daily metric that we, do with Excel. We put all our products in. How many did I sell? I don't care about ACoS right now because of the attribution window, right? So we ignore ACoS. We just care about tacos. We look at pricing. What are our competitors' pricing doing? What's our pricing doing? If they're increasing the price, hey, we're going to match it. We're going to go up, maybe even higher. The pricing is also going to depend on my inventory. If my inventory is running low, my price is going up. I'm not going to run out. I'm going to benefit from more money. I'm looking at organic ranking, super important. That organic ranking will directly relate to my profitability, right? If I have better ranking, I'm going to be more profitable. So we track all of those metrics. Yeah. In PPC, the only thing that we really track are the budgets, right? We have to have a good strategy and a good campaign structure before Q4. If not, it's a bit late. It's almost like guesswork, right? If you're just launching a new product, hey, you got to do the guesswork, right? Just throw everything at it, see what sticks. But ideally, you have a strategy in place beforehand. And during the Q4, you just increase those budgets. And we monitor the placement. Am I getting the placement that I want for the price that I'm paying? Okay, so what do I mean? If I know a keyword converts really well at top of search, I got to monitor the placement. Am I still, for the bid that I set, getting that top of search placement? And as Q4 goes into the peak, the bids might actually go up because there's more competition. People are bidding more. So I have to adjust my bid to get the same placement. So like I said, we don't care about ACoS. We don't care about that because we're covering that with tacos, but we care about the placement. Okay, so for PPC, honestly, all we look at is, am I staying in budget and am I getting the placement I want? Then the final check is the inventory, right? So we really just look at what is even our competitor inventory level. So this is how micro we get, right? How do we do that?
We're literally on our competitor pages and you can see when they only have 20 left in stock and we're just counting down because when they go out of stock, we know those sales are coming our way.
Yeah, so you can, just go on their listings, check it out. We always do it in private browsing as well. So like incognito or private browsing, go on their listings, try to get a feel for the marketplace, right? Shipping time, super important. So not just shipping times to the customer, but also shipping time to the FBA fulfillment center. So it's so hard to sell during peaks, I find, because let's say now sales are going good and you're like, oh my God, sales are picking up. I'm going to forecast, I need so many more. Well, if you send in way too many, but Amazon puts it on the shelves too late, you're going to miss the peak. And all that inventory that you sent in because you hoped Amazon could put it on their shelves to fulfill it, you're going to have to carry it on into January, February, March because you missed it, right? And for Ryan and I mean, during Mother's Day, we had a product, our total catalog, we did $1 million of sales in 5 days, $1 million in 5 days revenue. And it requires a lot of inventory to do that. If we would have missed that peak, that one day, our biggest day was $250,000, right? And our baseline is $100,000 a month. So that one day, the 2.5 months worth, that's how much inventory we had. Okay, so shipping times, it's careful. Pull the trigger, but if it's too late, you missed it. It's like surfing. The wave passed underneath you. And
we've had to cancel LTL shipments that we had prepared. Amazon missed the pickup date and we said cancel because these are not going to make them in time. And we had to kind of bite the bullet on those. Yeah,
exactly. And the final topic, and we're going to talk about this a bit more, I think, as well, because this is so important, is restock limits. This is the most annoying thing for Amazon seller. And I bet you everyone here in the webinar agrees. Like, you want to make money, you want Amazon to make money off you, and then they grow like crazy during COVID, right? They have all these new fulfillment centers, you know that, and then all of a sudden they're like, we're going to sell them, we're going to shut them down, and we're going to cap every seller and give them a restock limit. And it's so frustrating. So what Ryan and I do is, that's one of the metrics. Honestly, we know that Amazon updates the restock limit once a week, but we notice that during Q4, it's sometimes 2-3 times a week. So we go in often and we say, are we allowed to send in more? Are we handicapped anymore? And that is a data you have to know. Like, everyone here right now, you have to know how many units can you send in. Yeah.
So I'm gonna dig into the restock bit in a second, but just got another great question from the audience. So they just said they launched a new product that is selling well, and they're going to run out of stock before they get more in. Should we still go hard for ranking and sell out as quickly as possible and get really good ranking, or should we slow PPC down and try to keep them in stock till we receive more inventory?
What a good problem to have, right? So that's first of all, congrats. And the answer is, it depends. Okay. And I'll tell you why it depends. I think 2 reasons. One, how long are you going to be out of stock? Right. So if you're saying, look, honestly, it's already, the ship is docking and I'll have it at my 3PL, or I'll have it in Amazon in 2-3 weeks, and your out of stock period is going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I would say, yeah, maybe keep going. Or slow, like, you can increase the price, slowly go down. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. It all depends on how long you're going to be out of stock. So what Ryan and I did last year for SKUs, because it happened to us as well, for different variations, we would actually we would run out of stock. So we would slow it down a bit. We would increase the price and slow off PPC a little bit. And one, it gives you insight in, do I even need PPC for this product? How much PPC is needed, right? So just do it with budget caps. And then close the listing. And if within 2 to 3 weeks you are active again, then it was the right strategy. If you're saying, look, I'm going to be out of stock for 2 or 3 months because I just placed the order now, then that ranking is going to drop anyway. And if that ranking is dropping anyway, who cares if it drops a little bit now? And maximize your profit. PPC is not required to sell on Amazon. And the only reason why everyone talks about it is because there's so many PPC agencies that want to sell their best strategies and get you to buy their services. But honestly, hey, if you have organic ranking, that's it. You don't have to run advertisement. Ryan and I were in Germany, and there's a beer company. They don't run advertisement. It's all word of mouth. They've never run an advertisement. I mean, they sell at Oktoberfest, so they make enough money. But companies don't have to run ads. Okay, don't forget that, guys. So turn off PPC. Just stick it with organic ranking. Play with your price. The only thing with price is be careful. If you make it too expensive, you might get some bad reviews because people might be upset, or they might return it more because they're like, oh, this isn't worth $50. This is worth $35. So be careful with price. But yeah, if you're going to be out of 2 to 3 months anyway, let it run out of stock with the maximum amount of profit possible.
Awesome. Yeah, he said 2 to 3 weeks out of stock. So it sounds like the former of the suggestions is. Okay,
cool. Yeah, so exactly. Then honestly, slow down a little bit, but not too much, because your ranking will come back within a day or two. Close the listing though. Okay, so when you run out, literally just close the listing. Yeah, and then turn it back on.
Awesome. So jumping back to restock limit. So we've seen a lot of those getting slashed. What strategies do you guys have for dealing with that?
It's crazy. I think I was saying to Dave, like, when you turn, like, we're in a lot of these Facebook groups and you just see everyone's talking about their restock limits just getting slashed these days, despite Amazon seeming to have built more warehouse space. Anyway, don't know what it means, but it's bad news for a lot of sellers. Like, we check our restock limit every Monday, and it's always like, cross your fingers and see. But I just want to give you an idea of a new thing that Amazon has confirmed for us. So, we know that Amazon's forecasting models suck, and this is what they do. This is what they use to set your restock limits. So they look, how many units do we think Dave and Ryan are going to sell over the next 6 months? And let's base the restock limit on that. So we never knew what they were forecasting for us until I was just in Seller Central a couple of weeks ago and saw that Amazon is now showing you the forecast for your products on a SKU level, so you can see what they think you're going to sell. So if you're in the restock inventory section of Seller Central, you might see this view forecast under some of your higher selling SKUs. And what we saw, like, literally floored us. And it just confirmed that Amazon sucks at forecasting. So this was one of our most popular SKUs. In orange, you can see this big peak that we had last May. We sold over 10,000 units of this product in May. And look at what Amazon thinks we're going to do next May. They say, okay, you sold 10,000. We think next year you're going to do 700, but that's optimistic. Realistically, we think you're going to do 300 units. And that's not only laughable, but that's scary, because our restock limit come May is going to be based upon this forecast that is just terrible from Amazon. It's crazy. So what Dave and I have really had to do is not rely on Amazon's forecast models to tell us how much to send into FBA. We've had to build our own models. So we're Excel freaks. We'll be up until 2 a.m. in the morning doing Excel sheets. So we've actually had to build an Excel that we call, when we were building it, we call it, what's the name? We need an epic name for this. We called it the Life Force. And this was what we based all of our decisions on when it came to the business. We built our own forecast trends, and it told us how many units we needed to send into Amazon based on our own forecast models and not Amazon's. So yeah, trust your own forecasts. Don't necessarily rely on Amazon, especially during the peaks.
Yeah, let's have a look at the next slide here. So what do we do when the restock limit goes down, right? Specifically. So first thing, open a ticket with seller support. Honestly, tell them, like, listen, we're a hot selling product. We're capped. Any chance you guys can increase our limit? We've heard success in Facebook groups. People are posting, hey, it actually worked. So try opening a ticket. It's like anything at seller support. It's a, hit or a miss. So you never know, but try it. And then what we like to do is we like to have FBM units on standby. So we use 3PLs, right? So we have a third-party logistic, and every single SKU that we sell on Amazon, we also have the duplicate listings. We have it's this exact same listing, but an FBM option. So what we do now is we say, okay, look, we're capped with our restock. We're about, 60% of what we think we could sell. So what we're going to do is right now, while the shipping times are still decent, we're going to sell all our FBM units from our 3PL, clear those out now. So we make our FBM offer maybe $2 or $3 cheaper than the FBA offer. We make it cheaper, get the buy box on the FBM, and then we can send them out now. That'll save the FBA units until peak time, Christmas time, because FBA has normally, like in our case, better shipping times than FBM. They just have a better network than our FBM, right? And there's an advantage of that. If during the Christmas peak, let's say, we don't get our product to our customer on time and the customer gets mad because of a misfulfillment, they send it back and leave us a bad review or bad seller feedback, there's nothing we can do about it because we actually fulfilled it with our 3PL. If Amazon fulfills it and it gets late and the customer complains, Amazon will strike it through and it'll say like, oh, sorry, Amazon takes full responsibility for this. We fulfilled it. So we use now the strategy right now, November, to say, okay, we are capped with our restock limit. Let's move all of our units FBM if possible and save what's at FBA for when it really matters in early December. And then the final thing, and this is something I really want to hit home for people that have variations on their listings. Okay, we need to do a mental switch of strategies. And normally throughout the year, if we don't have a restock limit and everything is going smooth, what we do is we do our inventory planning on a SKU level, individual SKU. How many units did this SKU sell? What am I forecasting for the next 30 or 40 days? And I'm going to send in that SKU. If I'm being capped by how much I can send in, I have to do a quick mental switch and actually focus on parent ASINs to say, I want to keep this parent in stock, and the variations underneath, I'm going to use them as individual levers to try to maximize it. And we're going to give you an example. So let's take a look at the data here. Pretend I have one parent and it has 4 variations that are color variations. So the customer gets to choose a color. Okay. Then here's my forecast for the next 60 days. Each units I would have to sell, like variation 1, I would sell 1,000 in the next 60 days, variation 2, 2,000, 500, 1,000. Those are the units I have at FBA next to it. So I only have 300 left, I have 2,500 left, 200 left, 1,500. That means on a SKU level, how many would I have to send into FBA? Well, it's just the difference, right? I'm going to have to send in 700 of variation 1 because I'm missing some. Variation 2, I don't have to send in any. I have 500 overstocked at FBA. Variation 3, I'm going to have to send in 300. And variation 4, I don't have to send in any. I'm overstocked on that one. Okay, so if I were to do this on a SKU level, I would have to send in 1,000 units right now. Okay, I hope that's clear. So 1,000 units. But let's say I'm capped, restock capped, and I can send in 1,000 units. Let's see what I can do. Then I can switch to a parent level. So now my thinking changes. So I say, okay, look at this forecast. In the next 60 days, this parent listing with all the colors, I'm going to need 4,500 of those units. At FBA, I have 4,500. So I don't have to send 1,000 units in. So if I was limited on my restock limit, then I can say, okay, look, I don't need that parent. Those 1,000 I'm going to save. And I'm going to apply those units for another parent that might be actually requiring it. Okay. And if you take a look now at the numbers, what strategy would we put in place? So I know I don't need any more, but I know that variation 1 is going to run out in the next 60 days. So I have different options. I'm going to raise the price on that one, right? So I'm going to make that one more expensive. So if someone really wants that color variation, hey, you're going to pay me $5 more for the purple one, right? Because I'm low on stock on it. I might run a discount or a coupon on variation 2 because I'm overstocked on that one. So I'm actually, going to use it as a maybe even break-even loss leader. And Ryan and I really like to do this switching from SKU level to parentage level because it gives us those levers and it actually allows us to upsell a customer, right? So you can have a really nice cheap product that gets the hero shot, right? So on the search result page, you see this really cheap product, you click on it, and now, oh, there's the purple one, it's $10 more, oh, but I really want the purple, I'll buy it, I'll pay the $10. Remember, Christmas time, people don't care. So use that switch from SKU level to parent level as a strategy to navigate this restock limit issue. That's basically it.
Yeah. And it's so actionable. Dave and I were on a call with our aggregator earlier today, going over this exact strategy because our restock limit, caps how much we can send in, and we're having to allocate units smartly from one parentage to another because parentage A there are some SKUs within parentage A that might go out of stock, but the parentage as a whole is healthy. But there's one parentage that needs all this inventory more as much as it can get. So it's shifting all the units to that parentage rather than the individual SKUs that might go out of stock, but it doesn't hurt the overall parentage for parentage A.
And now remember, as with everything, there's a caveat, it depends, right? So obviously if you sell something like a size variation, you sell gloves and they have different sizes and you're extra small for those people with really small hands is totally overstocked. Well, you know what? Someone like me is not going to be able to buy that glove. So it depends, right? But it's a strategy for people that have one where it's literally just a color variation or a slight different variation, maybe a different material. Use it to your advantage. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I always pay the extra $10 for the purple one. So.
100%. People do.
Cool. So I actually got another question from the audience referring to something Dave said a few minutes ago, which was about closing the listing. So are you saying that when you go out of stock, closing the listing will preserve your ranking?
So what we've noticed, it does preserve your ranking, but it's limited. So you're not going to go, if you're number 1 organically for a huge keyword, it's not going to go right back to there, right? But it basically freezes in, like your drop-off rate is a bit slower than if you were to keep it going.
Interesting.
And then what's interesting, so one thing to add to that though, so just stay in Seller Central though, even let's say it's your only product because you just launched, keep checking once in a while, because what happens is if people return a product that's in sellable condition, it'll be added to your inventory again, but it'll be considered a stranded inventory, right? Because there's no offer, you closed it, there's no offer, but hey, you have the product at Amazon, so it's stranded. And then what Ryan and I would do is we would consider, okay, do we just reactivate it now to clear that one? Do we wait a bit because maybe there is another order in the pipeline? So that's a little other discussion, but keep an eye on it. If you see 3 or 4 units are stranded, reactivate the listing, sell those 3 or 4 units, and then close the listing again.
Yeah.
We have actually strategically closed our listing to preserve a product during a peak. Okay, so just side note, but it's a fun story. So we have a huge peak, right? And on each day, let's say it gets bigger and bigger. We might sell 700 units today, 1,500 tomorrow, 2,300 the day after. And then after that, we need, let's say our baseline goes down to like 50 a day. So we know if we just close our listing on one day or half a day, we're going to have enough stock for like a month afterwards, after the peak, when it dries off. So if we don't have stuff in the pipeline to restock inventory to Amazon, and we don't want a listing closed for a month, we close our listing for a day during a peak. It hurts us, right? Because we're like, oh, the sales, the revenue, but it keeps your listing in stock for the month after.
And imagine the lost revenue if you go out of stock and you're out of stock for 4 weeks. The lost revenue you've put, or the lost money you put into PPC to rank, you have to get all that back. So yeah, we'll save a few units on the side to last us through the month so we don't have to re-rank.
So close the listing as a strategy for inventory as well. And so the revenue, Ryan, just to correct you, the revenue will be identical, because whether I sell them in one day or in a month, it's the same revenue. But what Ryan said accurately is it'll affect your profit because you're not paying as much to re-rank. Cool.
Awesome. And I do have another question. So when it comes to making sure that you have enough stock, how are you maintaining a healthy cash flow as well during the Q4, during this prime selling season?
So like Ryan said, two ways, right? One, we created the sheet called the Life Force. It was a sheet that we had for our own business. And we would actually plot out, okay, what's our forecast number of units we're going to sell multiplied by the sales price. We knew our profit margin on each SKU. And that would, then we would offset that payment from the sales day 2 weeks, because that's when we would get the payout from Amazon, right? It was like a 2-week delay. And then we would see how much money do we have on our bank account, all of that. However, so Ryan and I were actually, one of the first, receivers of an 8-fig funding. So the nice thing was, because we had funding from 8-fig, that was a worry that was on the back of our mind. Like, it was far away, because we knew that even though we have to place an order now for Q1, for example, so we can focus only on selling, and I don't have to worry about the cash flow for my next purchase order that's required in Q1, because 8-fig would pay for our purchase order. They would pay for our shipping. They would pay even for our 3PL and our launch PPC. And then once we sold the units, we would just pay them back per unit based on a payment schedule. So we're not the best experts on how do we, plan cash flow, because we literally had 8-fig take care of it for us. So there, to answer that.
Just a little something in there.
Thank you, 8-fig.
So yeah, maybe if you want to flip to the next slide, I think we have, because the inventory spreadsheet that you guys were talking about is actually available for you guys. And if they scan this, will they get that, or they're going to?
So here's the thing. So Ryan and I, that Life Force sheet that we used to have to run our business, literally, guys, it was to run our entire business, right? It was one massive Excel sheet. When we sold the company, people were like, hey, can you help us with ours a little bit? And we've been talking to so many people now. We're probably going to buy into a couple other brands. So it's really fun. And they're all asking, can you build us the kind of sheet that you had for your other business? The problem is building a sheet that's generic enough for every business is really, really hard, especially on Excel. But Ryan and I are like, oh, come on, we got to tackle this. Let's at least try. And then we started, and then it turned into long, long nights. And we actually have now essentially a sheet. We called it the stock flow. So instead of cash flow, it's stock flow, right? Where's our stock? How's it moving? Where is it in the pipeline? And we're going to release the beta version. So we're actually giving out a free copy of the sheet to everyone in our private Facebook group, which anyone can join. So scan our link here, this link here, Level Up Your Selling Game. I see a couple of participants in this. They're already in our group. So hi, guys. But yeah, so join our Facebook group. We're actually going to release the beta probably by the end of this week, maybe beginning of next week. And then it's going to be a completely free sheet for 14 days. Okay, so you get to use it for 14 days, which is perfect timing now for your Q4 inventory. You get to test it. You're going to have to provide us some feedback and some suggestions. And if you find any bugs, you let us know, because it's in beta. But at least the math is 100% accurate, because we've tested it. We've used it with our aggregator. But yeah, that I would recommend, honestly, everyone, guys, join our Facebook group. Nothing to lose. It only works with Excel. So you need Microsoft Excel. That's the only downfall, right? It doesn't work with Google Sheets because there's macros involved and it runs automated. And it's a really cool sheet. You download 2 reports. You have to do it once a week. And then literally it tells you everything you need to know about your supply chain. When do you have to place the next order? How much do you have left at your 3PL? How much should you send into Amazon? If there's a peak coming up, how big is it going to be? It honestly, it's our Mona Lisa. It's our masterpiece.
And this analysis that you talked about earlier about looking at inventory under the umbrella of the restock limit and looking at SKU versus parentage level, we do this on the sheet. So you can group your SKUs by parentage and look at the health of the parentage as a whole in just one click. So like Dave said, we would wake up when we were, in the heat of the business, we every Monday morning, download these reports and just do what the sheet said, send in this many to FBA. This is when you're going to be out of stock. This is what you can expect. So yeah, and, it's been a lot of sleepless nights this past couple of weeks. Built a generic version that anyone can use, but my goodness, it's worth it. It's
worth it, guys. And it's going to be fun to get that feedback from you guys too. So anyway, join our group because it's fun. We'd love to connect more. It's free, nothing to lose. And let's figure that out.
Yeah, they're pretty fun peeps, and we all love a good macro, right?
Exactly.
Guys, please feel free to scan our code as well. Go to 8fig.co to learn about how to get continuous capital and flexible funding so that you don't have to run out of money to get that stock that you need to sell. And we do have a few more questions that I want to get to you guys from the audience. One we have is, do you have any advice for getting more good reviews?
Ooh. The first thing that comes to my mind simply is just make sure you have a good product. If you just fundamentally, if you don't have a good product that customers love, it's going to be very, very hard to get good reviews. So if you're in the product research phase, one thing that Dave and I love to do is under promise and over deliver. So, on the listing, you might not include that you're sending like a little freebie with your product. And then when the customer gets it, they're not expecting it. They open it up and you've included a little free gift or a little gift card, or it comes in a really nice bag or something. These are things that are going to lead the customer to want to leave a positive review because they're pleasantly surprised. So that's one little trick that we've done.
I think it's important in selling anything is that you never just sell a product. You sell an idea, a promise, a story. That's what you're selling, right? You're selling a solution. And if you keep that in mind, that you're not selling a product, but you're selling that, then it's so much easier to connect to a customer. And then it's so much easier to get a review from that customer. And I always find it's funny because people love, how do we get more reviews and how do we do it up front? But then they don't deliver a really good product. Now, I'm not saying that's you. I'm sure you guys have good products. Now, if you do have a good product, how do you get the review? Well, it's the same like tip. How do you get more tip? You got to serve more tables. That's why like any Europeans on this call, they hate going to North America because as soon as you're done eating, you get a bill on the table. And in Germany or all of Europe, that's considered rude because it feels like, oh, you want me to leave. You already gave me the bill, right? So it's a cultural difference, which is really funny. But the reason why they do it is, here, I'm done serving you. Here's your bill. And if you're ready, can you please leave? I got to flip a table. The more people you serve, the more chances you have of getting a tip. And it's the same with reviews. The more you sell, the more chances you have of getting a review. Okay, so 1, you got to increase your sales. 2, you got to, like Ryan said, over deliver, under promise. And then 3, and this is a simple one, is there are enough plugins that are free, Chrome extensions, right, that you can get that'll actually go into the order page of every single order and click the button, request a review. It's fully legal. It's all the terms of services for Amazon because it's their button, right? The Chrome plugins that you can download. So the one we use is with our subscription from, let's say, Zonguru. It'll actually go into each single one. Helium 10 has one as well. Helium 10, if anyone from Helium 10 ever sees this, their flaw is that it only does one order page at a time. And if you're selling 10,000 SKUs in one day, then you have to cycle. You can only see 100 orders on an order page. I mean, that's just not feasible. But if you're just starting out and you're selling 100 products a day, then every day just go in and click the Helium 10 free plugin, request a review button, because if you're not harassing the customer for a review, you're not going to get it.
Oh, awesome. We have 2 more questions. I know we're just about at time, but for everyone who's about to hop off, we'll also be sending the recording to everyone registered as well as like links to some of the things that we mentioned. But if you are able to stay for a few minutes, we're going to keep going through questions. So please feel free to send them through the Q&A box. The next one we have is, do you recommend getting media placements, PR, or social media to boost traffic to Amazon listing along with PPC?
That's a good question. This is something we did last Q4, was to reach out to gift guides and get these placements in other places other than Amazon, because there's tons of bloggers out there who are building gift lists right now. And some of them, you just have to send them a free product and they'll write up, a beautiful write-up about you. They'll put a picture of your product and they'll link to Amazon using their affiliate links. So yeah, if you can drive this external traffic for just the cost of a free product, why not try to reach this other, customer base that might not find you on Amazon, but might find you through this blog?
Yeah, and it's a strategy that you may want to do for all peaks, not just Q4. For Christmas, I think it might be a bit too late to get onto gift guides. It's crazy how much time in advance these PR companies require to get on a gift guide. Like last year, we started doing that in August, trying to really reach out to them, say, look, we want to be on, ideally you'd be on like Oprah's 10 Christmas gifts, or like that? Ellen. Is Oprah still a thing? Ellen's wish list.
Oprah's always a thing. Yeah.
Right? Oprah's always a thing, right? So that would be the dream, right? But get on gift guides, reach out to YouTubers. Any traffic off Amazon is really good. That's a good strategy too, guys. If you have a really nice Shopify website, run PPC or run advertisement, Google Ads, to your Shopify store. And what you'll notice is an increase in Amazon sales. Now, you may not be able to track it, but this is what happens. So honestly, my wife and I, this is how we kind of shop. So let's say I end up finding a really cool product on a website and I look at it and I love the website. Because I have an Amazon account and everything's on Amazon, I'm literally going to look up that brand and that product on Amazon to be like, oh, I wonder if Amazon has it. And if it's the same price, I'd rather buy it from Amazon because, one, it's easier returns. I trust Amazon. I have an Amazon account. I'm going to order 20 things tomorrow on Amazon probably anyway. So I'll add it to my cart on Amazon. So even though I drive them to a completely different website, you won't be able to track it, but who cares if your sales go up? Isn't that good, right? And then, and the nice thing is for Amazon, that is considered an organic click. You brought a new customer in, they searched for you. You're telling Amazon you're an exciting new product, right? So drive traffic. This is a bit unorthodox. I don't think a lot of people do this, to your Shopify store, right? And they'll buy organically on Amazon.
I've totally done that too. Yeah.
You know why people don't talk about it, Emma? You know why people don't talk about it? And Ryan, this is also Ryan's thinking. If you cannot track it, people get scared. Don't know, is it worth your money? Right? And then I always argue is like, can you really track a Super Bowl commercial? You're spending like $150,000 for like 10 seconds. It makes no sense. It's probably even more. That was probably underestimating it. It's hard to track, right?
Yeah. One thing I will mention though is like we got on a lot of small gift guides last year, and I don't know that they massively drove sales, but what they did is they got our images out on the internet. So if you would go to Google image search, our listing and you're searching in, gifts for whoever, there's a chance that our product might appear in Google search images, not from our Amazon listing, but from this blog that posted about us. And I think that's a pretty good placement to want to go after. And if it just costs you a free product to get on there, it could be worth it.
100%. Okay, last question I have. What sort of changes, if any, do you make to your PPC strategy when it comes to selling for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, et cetera, versus the Q4 holiday season?
Obviously different keywords.
Fresh keyword research, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we wouldn't do is, for example, take last year's Valentine's Day campaigns and just, relaunch them this year. Every campaign, every new holiday requires fresh keyword research to see what are the new terms, because they change around. Amazon's autocomplete, when you type in the search, they're going to suggest different keywords year to year. So fresh keyword research is something we can't stress enough.
And then another strategy is the badge that Amazon puts on your listing for arrives before Christmas, they only do that for the Christmas peak, not for the Mother's Day peak, not for the Valentine's Day peak. And that drastically changes our PPC strategy. And some products will get it before others, and you'll be like, that's weird. And it's just based on, you know, their geolocation, which warehouse has them. So, you know, log in private browsing again, always do private browsing so it doesn't track your history, because Amazon will show you ads and organic placements based on your shopping habits, right? So if you're always looking for that type of product because it's your product, it's going to show you a better placement because they think you like that product. You're always looking for that product. So always go into private browsing and then actually put in different zip codes across the country, East Coast, West Coast, you know, Southwest, whatever, figure it out and then try different ones and you'll see different shipping times and then adjust your PPC strategy based on that badge. Yeah. And remember, other peaks don't have that badge. And what we've noticed is there's certain peaks, like say Valentine's Day, where it's a lot more last minute than Christmas. So I believe that Christmas, people know it's coming, it's every year, they're shopping for the whole family. And because you're not just buying for one person or two people, you're buying for everyone, people tend to start a little bit earlier because there's just so many more gifts you have to think of buying and stuff. So we might start for the Q4, we might start the peak PPC a month earlier, but for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, maybe 2 weeks earlier before the peak.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we actually have a few more questions, but I think maybe we'll just follow up with everyone directly since we are over time. But thank you.
Let's give them one more. Emma, come on, we're having fun.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, this one's actually pretty interesting too. So is there any way around ineligible items for PPC? This person said that their product is marked as provocative apparel.
Right. So this is really tough.
Limited, yeah.
So what you have to do is try to market it as something else. And you see this all the time with massagers, okay? So these vibrating devices that people call massagers, they're not going to market it as what they're actually trying to sell it as, if you get my hand, right? So you would have to try to get it into a different category, maybe try to get, you know, make sure that your listing, it all depends once again, right? If you need your listing to be optimized because your sales are coming from there, then you can't change your listing. You need to get those organic sales at least. And if you do change your listing enough that you're allowed to run PPC on it, then it might hurt your organic ranking for the people actually looking for that. So I think that's really like that's a brainstorming one-on-one type of thing where it's like, let's look at your actual product and see, is there something we can do? But
it's so tough because if PPC more and more today has become the way to drive organic ranking on Amazon. You know, search find buys are gray or black hat now, so you can't really do those to drive ranking. So you have to rely on PPC. And if Amazon is blocking you, you might have to turn to something like Google. Google, you can probably still run ads and drive that traffic to your Amazon listings. So consider Google and external traffic as a way to get people to your listing.
One thing to, you know, cushion the blow is knowing that all your competitors are in the same boat. No one can run PPC, right? And then if you do see one competitor who has it, then figure out his listing and be like, how is he running PPC? What's different about his listing than mine? And can you copy that a little bit? Yeah.
Awesome. And I see Israel just said, yeah, run Google ads to your listing. That's an alternate route, like you said. Okay, well, might as well just do the last one then. Do you use the Data Dive tool?
Brandon Young's tool. So we personally haven't used it. And mainly it's because when we're doing the product research and stuff, we had our own Excel sheets and we use honestly identical methods. So we love Brandon Young, right? Ryan actually don't you have the same birthday as Brandon? Right?
I think so. We met up in Vegas at the Scaling
at his birthday bash. Yeah. So Ryan,
we're one day apart. We partied together. Yeah.
You guys partied together for your birthdays. I mean, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So we love him. We actually used his methods, but we built our own sheets to do essentially what Data Dive does. But I would recommend it. Do it. It's a really good.
I love it. It's data-driven decisions and doesn't get any better for me, right?
Yeah. So the only thing is, there's data, 100% I agree. Data is important, but then what we have between our ears is also important. And it's the same in flying. An autopilot is good, but it's only as good as the pilot operating that autopilot, okay? It can only do what you tell it to do. And data is the same, right? And I think that's the key point, that we always still think about it. There's so many more factors that go into it than just the numbers.
What I love about Data Dive is it gets you thinking about your competitors in a different way. It gets you to show, or it shows you how good your competitors are at Amazon, and then presents the niche to you from that perspective, which I think is a really important thing to consider when you're doing product research. So I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I found this super interesting, and we got a lot of great questions. So thanks everyone who threw in their questions. But yeah, so we will follow up with everyone with the recording and some more materials that we all touched on. But yeah, and thank you so much, Dave and Ryan. This was super fun. So many nice nuggets. Yeah, hope you guys had a fun time too.
Thanks so much for hosting, Emma. Loved it.
Yeah, we honestly had a really good time, and we're looking forward to connecting more with these people. So guys, if you kind of like this kind of chat, we do the free, it's absolutely free DAVAN Exchange, where we just get on Zoom and we talk to people and we learn from you guys too.